Center adds to the educational mission of community colleges. Hawaii has celebrated success in agriculture, and we want to support local agriculture by investing and growing the Made in Hawaii, Produced in Hawaii, and Processed in Hawaii brands. Resources available on site will support local entrepreneurs in improving their products and business models, reducing the need for businesses to leave Hawaii to become viable. We offer programming curtailed around value-added businesses, equipment that are unique to Hawaii and typically too expensive for small businesses. Provide consulting and know-how to help improve products, reduce cost of production, and increase shelf life, all critical to the success of local products and are now available in Central Oahu for statewide access through the community colleges. When we look at facilities that can help support scaling products, bringing new products to market, there's very few in Hawaii. Equipment like our hyperbaric chamber that will help stabilize shelf life for products. These are things that our entrepreneurs need so that their products can get into the store, so that their products can make that trip across the ocean. Keeping businesses local, supporting local agriculture, and strengthening local entrepreneurial pipelines are core to the mission of the Wahiawa Value-Added Product Development Center and the community colleges. I would love for you to learn more about what we are doing here by looking at our website and joining us for a tour so that we can continue strengthening Hawaii's local economy through agriculture.
Hey, so welcome everybody. My name's Naomi Blue Summers. I'm the operations coordinator for the Wahiawa Value-Added Product Development Center. Also joined by our manager, Chris Bailey, and our marketing specialist, Kelsey Ige, and our guest speakers today. So we have Wayne from HTDC, Bill from RL Scott, and Luisa and Mark from ACET Global. So Wayne, if you could go ahead and give a brief overview of your professional background and what your organization does.
Okay, thanks, Naomi. I'm going to share the slide just so I stay on track. Let me know once you can see it. Okay. All right. So my name is Wayne Layugan. I work for HTDC. HTDC is short for the Hawaii Technology Development Corporation. But within HTDC, there's a program called Innovate Hawaii. The significance of Innovate Hawaii is that we're the official MEP center in Hawaii. MEP is short for Manufacturing Extension Partnership. So on this slide, you can see, right, this is a federal program. There is an MEP center in every state and Puerto Rico. And then what our main focus is helping small and medium-sized manufacturers, grow as a business, right? So I guess our mission is to strengthen and empower U.S. manufacturing. And then if you think about it, the main role of our MEP National Network is to focus our expertise and knowledge, as well as that of our partners, which we have some on today for this webinar, on providing U.S. manufacturers with the information and tools they need to improve either productivity, assure consistent quality, accelerate transfer of manufacturing technology, and then, of course, infuse the infusion of innovation and into production and processes and new products. So over the past years, most recently because of COVID, 3 significant challenges for manufacturing have emerged. And as a result, in response to those challenges, our goals as a network over the next 5 years are to help manufacturers, narrow the workforce gap, mitigate supply chain vulnerabilities, and of course, leverage technology. And just to give you an overview of the things that we do for food industry, we assist manufacturers with production efficiency, food safety programs, workforce development, scaling up in equipment, cybersecurity, and overall quality management systems. So with that, I'll hand it over to Bill, who's next up, I think, and he can go over what he does at RL Scott and Associates.
Thank you for having me. My company, RL Scott and Associates, we are manufacturers reps based in essentially Boise, Idaho. We kind of cover the Northwest. We have been in the food processing and packaging equipment business for 40 years. And that's what we do. We meet with clients and or engage with clients, primarily in the food industry, and help them figure out how to solve problems, whether it's production problems or efficiency or new product development, all the way from the process to the finished package. So founded in 1984, we have about 2,000 clients and just completed over $500 million in projects in the food industry. We also have I have a side business that we do. We provide consultation. In particular, we do a lot of consultation on product inspection, food safety stuff, metal detection, X-ray, and those kinds of things. And I've worked with Weighner now for 6 or 7 or 8 years. And we've been to every island and met with lots of people and seen lots of great things over the years. So.
Thank you, Bill. Next up, Luisa, please go ahead and introduce yourself and say a little bit about what ACET Global does.
Good morning. My name is Luisa Tapia. I work in ACET Global Consulting. ACET Global Consulting is a company that was created in 2017 with Ron Bale. I know some of you already had worked with him. At this time, he have a mission of cultivating food education. So right now, the company had grown. We are around 8 partners that cover around all American, the Caribbean regions. And what we do is we specialize on providing education, training, and consultation to different type of business. We work with manufacturers. We work with agriculture too, packaging companies, pet food companies, distribution centers. And we provide also sustainability and food defense programs. What we do is that we go in any size, different sizes of companies, all the way to mom and pop business to big corporations, and help them what we name continuous improve their system or start from scratch for getting a new level or looking for start selling to specific customers. So we work with each one of them with all the way through until they get certified or until they get ready for implementing their programs. But after that, we continue helping them, providing more information, resources from different areas like equipment, suppliers. And we do also some trainings outside of America, of the DFSI world. So we are only going to give you the information that is required by regulations or standards. We also will give you the view of an audit. My background, I had been already 23 years in the food industry. So I had been in different roles from corporate to IT and also part of the plan and the workforce. Thank you.
Thanks, Luisa. Mark?
I've been working with Luisa with ACET Global Consulting since 2016. I'm also on the side a contract auditor with a couple of different certification bodies doing SQF and GMP and Costco type audits. In addition to being a trainer, we do quite a bit of consulting, helping companies start from scratch or helping companies go from where they're at to further develop their programs with a focus on continuous improvement and quality management. Like Luisa, I have probably 25, 30 years of direct food experience from the purchasing side for a big corporate facility in the mainland US, to a certification manager and a training manager with AIB International, and still have industry experience specific with QA and plant management. I have actually managed and run a couple dessert bakeries in my past experience. So we kind of bring that rounded experience to companies to help them build their programs, to understand what the program requirements are and really customize and make the programs meet the company and the standard together. Thank you.
Thanks, Mark. And I heard GFSI mentioned several times. So for folks who may not have heard of it before, GFSI stands for the Global Food Safety Initiative. So they are they're industry experts who review standards such as you may have heard of different third-party audits. So if you want to sell to certain retailers, for example, Costco, Target, Walmart, etc., many of them require a third-party audit that has been certified by GFSI. So yeah, just to provide some context there. So I'll hand it back over to Luisa and Mark to present a bit about what ACET does and food safety.
So what we help in ACET is that the first thing is, what are you looking for? What are you trying to go to? What are your plans for 2 to 5 years? So the first thing is making sure that when we help you go to the next level. From starting in a kitchen on your house, I had been in companies, they started in their garage, and they wanted to move forward to start making product to be sold out not only to family and friends, but also going to stores, even the ABC stores or small stores, how they can be able to do it. So we work with them and put together and make it what we name programs now, what you are doing at this point. So if you are cooking or doing processing in your facility, in your house or in a special area, we show you that the things that you are doing right now are still programs that are going to be used later on. The only difference now that these programs are not going to be optional, because you are going to expand, you're going to touch more people, you're going to put product on a shelf that is going to be consumed in different ways. And what we help you is understand why these programs are not longer optionals, that why you really need to do, for example, cleaning and making sure that it's not only clean, that you use the right soaps, that you use the right kind of water, or that you make sure that your temperatures are always the same, that when you pack your product, make sure that you put some ice on it, but also why you are doing this. And from there, what we do is that we go and as soon as you know that you are going to be expanding, is also looking for what other big business you want to go into, and in that moment is, okay, we try to explain you what the other business will require from you, and then help you implement that programs, making sure that programs are good to go, but they're also part of your daily tasks. Another thing is making sure that when you are going to buy new equipment, the equipment that you're going to buy is suitable for you, that you understand what are the precautions that you need to take with it. That is not going to be the same thing as cleaning your normal tools on your house or in your kitchen right now to move to a new equipment. That is a big difference. And how the ingredients that you're using will impact in some health things in people. What do you need to have in a label? Now you have to explain what ingredients you put in. Is not that you are going to tell us the formula, but it's going to be how you're going to explain to your customers what are they eating. So with that one, it's also not only that programs that are not essential, they're essential now. It's also requirements by the law. So when you are talking now that you are going to be impacting a bigger number of people, the law is going to be regulating you. So that's another point that we always help. Okay, what does the law ask you to have and why you need to have it? And also when you start expanding and you are looking, okay, one thing is going to be requirements here in the island, but when you want to go and expand in the mainland or any other part of the world, each one of them will have a special requirements. So we explain you how to meet them, explain you why they require that. And not only that, at the end is that we go with you hand by hand, and we still challenge your programs after they are already put in. Any new updates in the industry and around the world, we'll also go back and help you with that ones too. So we are always helping and always challenge you to keep growing. So how do you see you in 2 years, or 5 years, or 10 years? It will be part of how you want to grow, but the grow means that you always have to be improving your system. It's like having a baby. So when you have your baby, you know that it's perfect, but when it start growing and start needing different kind of things, like from diapers, now they had to know what else they are going to eat by themselves. So that is how we see you. Like, we are going to go with you hand by hand and help you understand what are the new challenge and the new changes your products and your programs will need.
Okay. Luisa and I are both from QA, and QA likes to use a lot of big words and acronyms. So if we throw things out there, Naomi already helped us out a little bit on GFSI, and now we're going to throw other acronyms, Kappa, different things out there. If you have any questions, shoot a question to the chat, and we'll provide explanation. But the first top word that we want to throw at you is, what is quality management? Really, quality management is what you do on a day-to-day basis. A lot of people define quality management as say what you do what you say, and prove it. And as you grow from a very small facility, just selling to your friends and family, to selling to big customers, and Costco is a great example here. What do your new customers expect? So they do expect things to be in place, quality programs, written procedures. But the big thing that you're going to look at is records, right? So with a Costco audit, GFSI audit, the auditor wants to know, do your records actually identify what has happened in your manufacturing in the time periods that they go back and look at? Typically, we looking back to 6 to 12 months. But what story are your records telling everybody? And records are critical. The FDA looks at the records and says, if it's not written down, you didn't do it. And people who worked in food know that that's not the case, but that is exactly how it's regulated, especially if there's a bigger event that you need to go back and use your records for investigation. Makes records very critical. Records are the part of what we call plan, do, check, evaluate, and as a basis of continuous improvement. If your records don't really tell the story, it's hard to use that information to say, hey, did my programs work? If they didn't work, where's my corrective action? How am I validating or justifying my programs will actually do what I expect them to do? People in food industry typically are not good planners or good at writing procedures. They're good at doers. Being a doer is a critical capability. If you're in food manufacturing, if you're not a good doer, you're probably not going to stay in food manufacturing very long. But the industry is asking the food industry to become better planners, and becoming better planners, meaning to go back to your quality management, having procedures, evaluating your records, and improving your processes through corrective actions. So what is a corrective action? At the end of the day, the corrective action is an opportunity. We identified where the system didn't result in the exact product that we needed, and we use corrective actions to get it to that next level. So the next slide shows a CAPA program, which is the basis of plan, do, check, evaluate. This site, it's cyclic. It continues to go around. Once you jump into an audit system, it doesn't go away, and that's why it's continuous improvement. And it doesn't imply that you are ever actually at the top with no improvement needed. As your systems grow, as your products change, as your customers change, all of those things will impact your ability to ensure that your programs are working. And if they're not working, they can be improved through a systematic process in quality management. Many times, because once again, food manufacturers are good doers, not necessarily good planners, it begs the question, when do you go from an evaluation step on this cycle to a corrective action? Or when do you accept the effectiveness of what happened and go directly back to the do check cycle of the plan do check? Once again, not every cycle in a plant requires corrective action. A good manager knows and understands how to track and implement corrective action where it is needed. So the next slide talks a little bit about, where is correct quality management needed? Where do you apply it? First and foremost, quality management in a food safety realm has to be applied at your critical control points. And kind of step back a little bit. What's a critical control point? It's your food safety plan says these are the critical steps that have to be shown to be in place that verifies the food meets your safety standards. So what is that? Where is that in a food plant? If you're cooking, your cook temperatures, metal detection with Costco X-ray, those are critical standards for form material safety. Other than critical control points, you also have pre-op inspections to get started right every day to understand, what is your minimum cleanliness required, to have procedures that define that, and once again, have records to show that those are in place. Yet you say, well, what is needed for quality management? What is needed for a procedure? What is needed for a record? It's a lot of this is going to be based on what do your customers require, where are their expectations. Read through the standards of these customer requirements. That will give you a starting point. At the end of the day, who is responsible for these programs, quality management? And the answer to that should be always plant management, plant ownership, with a lot of help, with a lot of input from QA management in a food manufacturing facility. So critical areas are your critical control points. Very important areas are your cleaning records, your pre-op inspections, shipping and receiving. Are you seeing any problems? One thing that I like to look at when I'm doing an audit is ask the question, where has your system failed the last year? In a site that can't give me a clear answer to that tells me that you haven't gone to the level of really understanding how you're tracking a process failure in your production records and tracking those through completion. So if you're tracking them through completion, even though I'm showing up once a year to look at your programs, you should have a very quick, easy reference to show me where you've improved over the last year. And that record typically also shows me how you identified it. And it really gives a good understanding of, are you managing quality or are you chasing quality? And there is a big difference between those two statements. I think, one last thing I want to say on this one is nobody expects a program to be perfect. Nobody expects every record. If you say you're going to do a check at once an hour, that check is done every hour on the hour. So when your record says 9 o'clock, 10 o'clock, 11 o'clock, it really says to an auditor, I don't know if I trust every record that's associated with this process. And ask yourselves, if I can't trust the time, can I trust anything else? Can I trust a record that has shown no deviation over 12 months of review? A lot of times people will look at pre-op inspection is an example of this. I'll say, you've never had to re-clean anything based on a pre-op, and they say, yeah, but when we clean or when we see it's not right, we re-clean before we start, and that's what we write as satisfactory for the pre-op. And that's great, and that's a good goal to do, is never to start your line when it's not clean enough. But the second thing that it doesn't do, it doesn't identify into your system, looking at records, where you should apply more resources. It doesn't identify where failures are common that requires these type of recleaning events, and it doesn't give management a picture of, hey, you know what, we need some more money over here, we need some better chemicals, we need some better equipment, we need something. If everything is perfect, it really is trying to say we don't need anything, we got this, and that's really not the case in any food manufacturing facility I've been involved with, either as a manager, a QA department, or as an auditor.
So what is important about all of this is that when you have your quality system, the benefit is really big. One of us is that now, as soon as you start controlling and knowing your process, knowing the right temperatures, knowing the right equipment you're using, it will keep your product consistency. So you will, and instead of like, it's a little different like a restaurant. The restaurant today will be a different day than tomorrow. And but in this one, your pros will always look the same. That is your target, maintaining that consistencies that you are providing to your customers. Also, when you're looking at it, as soon as you start controlling and you start seeing the future, what can happen if I don't control something, the profitability of your product and your process is going to start showing. And we have a lot of experience when we go inside of the facility and help them control some of their programs. I was specifically in one, they were receiving around 80 complaints per month. And the owner was really trying to start firing a lot of people because nobody understand what was going on. When we came in and start talking with them and identify, and so what we did is looking at the records that Mark is already explaining, looking at what you are, all that times that you're recording, all the temperature you have, and even in basic inspections and cleaning, we identified that there was an issue with one of the programs. We start controlling the part of the timing in the packaging area. As soon as we control that, the product was going out constant that same way all the time. The quality improved a lot. So from 80 customer complaints per month, they moved to 15 a month. So the owner was really happy. The customers were really, really happy because their product was what they expected. And then they start understanding why the data was so important to be collected the right way, why it was important to communicate with more ACET that if you are lacking on resources or you need something else from management or from the owners to provide you in specific areas, is the only way you can prove them what are you trying to tell them. So another important thing is when having these programs in place, you're going to stop throwing a lot of your product to trash. Because as soon as your product is not safe to be consumed, you cannot even sell it to animal feed. What we name animal feed is that you sell it to some like farms that will use that product to give it to, like, for example, the pigs. If it's related to food safety, that if you give it to a human, can send it to the hospital making sick, that means that product cannot go back in the food chain, because at one point, if that pig is being sold later as meat for human consumption based on the food safety regulations, they cannot go inside of the human chain of consumption. So when you start controlling these programs and you start identifying what you need, is when you start being able to control it. When you have food safety, what is your HACCP, your hazard analysis critical control points for your products that you're producing, knowing what type of risk you are adding to your product, how you're going to be able to control it. So when you start seeing that you need to have CCPs, what is critical control points, what type of equipment you need, is also knowing at what point of your process, you will need to include that equipment. And I have an example that in one facility, it was they have a step of the process was a slicing. That was the last part of the process before wrapping and selling the product and shipping out the product. So they're in this case, they identified that based on their process, they have a lot of metal that will be not able to control only by daily visual inspections. They need to include a metal detector. So when they include a metal detector, they include it before the slicer. And so when I asked them, okay, why you do it before the slicer and or after, because your slicer is also made of metal, the answer for that point was because my slicer, if something happened to it, even if it misses a little piece, my equipment will stop. So I know that it can contaminate with metal, but my equipment is capable to stop with and not contaminating my product. So that's why my metal detector will be before the slicer. So that kind of identifications of your process are very important. Knowing where is going to be your critical risks and how you're going to be able to control it. Another one is going to be as when you have a programs in place and you're controlling your product, the equity of your product is going up. I have another company that they ask us to come in to help them to get BRC certified. Is one of the GFSI standards. And when they start seeing that is important too, is that when you put these programs in place, they come with a cost, not only time cost, also economic costs. And it is not small. Because as soon as you start seeing that you have to put all this regulation in place and you need to start hiring people or having some systems like technology put it in and equipment, you start seeing a lot of costs there. So this company, the owner, it was a small company, starts seeing how much will be costing them to get ready for certification. And at one point, the owner told us to stop the project because it was too much money. 2 years later, they just called us back saying that the owner wanted to retire. He didn't want to give the company to his kids because they don't want it. So when he tried to sell it, nobody wanted to buy the company because they didn't have a quality system in place. And they were not, even though they were following regulations, they didn't have records to prove that what they were doing was the right thing. So now we start working again with them to get them BRC ready to get certified because it was so sad that they understand it now that they wanted to sell it instead of being able to have more profits, to having a product that was certified or following standard regulations or specifically customer requirements. So that is why it's so important that you do not see this only as a check that say, okay, I have a HACCP or I have a program. Is how these programs are going to help you keep growing your business and also helping you to produce more, to have more ideas on your products, to start expanding your portfolio of products. So that's how ACET will help you come in when we come in to help you go to a small business to now play with the big league in the big leagues with the great and the biggest companies, and you can be now start selling in different countries too.
Better run now.
Thank you, Mark and Luisa. So we covered a ton of quality assurance, food safety, and regulatory concepts in a very short time. So, a lot of these terms, like even for people who have been in the food industry for a long time, need to have continuous education and keep updated on what the new regulations are, or what has been changed. For someone who might be hearing these terms and concepts for the first time, how would you recommend that they get started Like if they suddenly are like, oh, I need to document my food safety plan, but I don't even know where to start. What do you recommend?
So a good way to start is Wayne and the company is a very good resource. So even if you go to Google these words, sometimes it's a little more complicated to understand it because they had to have a little more of the background. But when you start looking in different resources, even in universities, they are going to be able to help you. So if you ask me what good book will be helpful, it will be a little more complicated because you really can start reading it, but you will need somebody always with you to explain it a little more in detail. But Wayne and the HTDC is making a really good a team to provide you with that information.
Right. And some of the terms that are used in quality assurance and food safety, I mean, the concepts are pretty basic and that we can relate back to things that we have learned since we were kids, right? Wash your hands. And when you're at home, you probably make sure you heat food up to a certain temperature. And you don't have to write it down or document it when you're at home. But as you folks mentioned in your presentation, as you start to scale up and the food is consumed by more people and could possibly affect more people, if something were to go wrong, that's why it's important to have these procedures in place and different ways of checking and keeping track of it. Because if something goes wrong, then it also could have an economic impact if you have to throw everything away. So I have a question for Bill. So given the food safety considerations that we just heard about from Mark and Luisa, so for earlier stage or smaller businesses who are just beginning to automate some of their processes, what do you recommend they consider as they decide on what equipment or packaging to use or buy?
Yeah, well, it's a good question. I mean, I think the first thing you have to start with is do you want to be a business? I mean, do you want to be a business? Do you want to make food for your family? Is this a hobby? I mean, if your thing is to go to the farmer's market, we're talking about things that really don't matter to you other than having fun with your friends. And so once you decide that, hey, this is going to become a business, and now I'm going to start to do some stuff and sell to the general public or retail. Well, then we're talking about all these programs and HACCP and GFSI and all these things. That's when these things come in. That's when these programs start to mean something, because if you're making dinner for your family, you're not. I don't know anybody that in their right mind that's taking a temperature and looking at how hot their soup is. But now if you're feeding a lot of people, this is what happens in mass production. And so in the food safety side of it is now you're going beyond maybe a local community or your family, and now you have some responsibility to make good food and protect people, and so that's where these programs start to come into play, outside of what you would normally do, like you said, washing your hands and making sure you're heating things up or keeping things cool or not putting the chicken on the counter and then wiping your hands. I mean, these are just, common sense things. But now when we start to get into mass production, we have to be a lot more careful. And the equipment that's selected, I mean, if you're doing stuff for a farmer's market, there's a really good bet that you're not running anything through a metal detector. But if you decided you wanted to sell to Walmart, it's going to be a requirement. And so these are things that you need to consider. Really, where do you want to be? Do you want to be a hobby, or do you want to sell to farmers markets? You want to sell to your family or friends, or do you want to go into a retail business and then distribution? These are all things that are part of considerations of you know, how and what scale you do this stuff.
Definitely. Thank you. Yeah. So for Wayne, so how has Innovate Hawaii helped local food manufacturers keep up with and meet food safety and regulatory requirements? So for example, when FSMA, or the Food Safety Modernization Act, was rolled out a few years ago, how did Innovate help local manufacturers with that?
So first thing is we needed to find experts, or people that had the knowledge and experience to provide training for FSMA, and that's why we partnered up with ACET and Bill Scott, right, from Arl Scott and Associates, because they have the knowledge and expertise to help local food manufacturers grow their business, both on the food safety side, and then for Bill, for the processing, packaging, and automation piece. Those were good at that. And then he's also very familiar with best practices in the industry from an equipment standpoint.
Yeah, so bringing in those experts, and also, thank you for connecting us, the Wahiawa Value Added Product Development Center, with Bill Scott and Luisa, Mark, and helping us also share their expertise with folks that we're connected with. So one of the questions that we had gotten during registration, and then folks who are on the call, please feel free to raise your hand or drop your questions into the chat. But during registration, someone had asked about how many different items should I have in my product line if I'm wanting to launch globally, or start selling just beyond the state. So when it comes to deciding how many different items or flavors that someone wants to launch in a product line, what do businesses need to consider from a manufacturing and a food safety standpoint, and also efficiency too? And this is a question for anybody who wants to chime in.
I think Luis is maybe muted.
So one of the things is going to be knowing the regulations of the countries they are trying to sell their product. One of the regulations here, also in the US, is making sure that it's not only the where you produce your product, is going to be how you're going to be selling it. It's not the same thing that you can buy it online here and be shipped to Canada or Japan, for example. But when you are trying to use like a broker or distributor, that is a completely different thing to go, because then the regulations over there are going to change a little bit more. So your labeling will be different. So it's looking in their food regulations requirements, knowing that one, I'm going to give you another food safety word that is going to be allergens. So allergens are ingredients, are products that will produce in a human a reaction. And it could be swelling, it could be rash. It can cause that, depends on the allergy level of each one of the persons. And right now in the US, we have 9 allergens. And these are ingredients that when you use them, you have to make very sure that if you are going to produce another flavor that will not include any of these allergens, then you will need to be able to clean and make sure with records that the cleaning is effective, that the cleaning is really done and there's no residues of these allergens, and only visually will not help. So you will need to do some specific tests to make sure that you are able to produce new flavors. So here in the US, we have 9. In Japan, they have 14. In Europe, they have 14. And Canada, they have 10. So it's not only making the flavors, it's also making sure that you know the legislations, you know what are you going into, and as soon as you know that, you go back to your process from the beginning to the end, and making sure that you are going to use only what type of equipment, what type of utensils, what type of wrapping equipment. All of that, it will be important because at the end you will need to be able to clean it up.
Yeah, I would say I think the question is how many products do you need? I would say one. My answer is one. One good product. That's what I would say. And then you develop from there based when you grow the one good product. And I'll give you an example. Oreo started as one cookie. Right now you can buy 39 different types of Oreos. So Oreos became very successful, and when Oreos grew and the exposure grew, then they started expanding their product line beyond just the standard Oreo. But one of the most common mistakes I see in manufacturing is people coming out with many products. I can tell you, I was in Portland, Oregon yesterday with a company that's about $700 million a year in business, and they have 680 SKUs. So to me, that is a very hard to manage. But if you're starting out and you're an entrepreneur, my suspicion is you started out with a product that everybody liked or your local community liked. And I would just continue to work on that and then use that as your base and then expand from there.
Thank you. Thank you. So we have gotten a few questions from the attendees. One of them, so kind of nice segue from how you ended there, Bill. But are there any food products or packaging types that are generally more successful to make, inspect, and market? And then, yeah, so for example, sauces, dehydrated things, etc.
I think you take advantage of your locality, especially here in the islands. Regional products are very popular. Maybe as a national product, maybe as a regional product, but people love the story of food. People love the story of food manufacturers, and to make your product unique to what you're providing, not trying to be everything to everybody. Kind of going back maybe a bit to the Oreo story, I'll say my favorite cookie is still the original. So, I don't think there's any one thing that says, hey, this is the hot new item or new packaging style, or, it's just keep it, stay where you're at, and perfect what it is you're providing before you get too crazily worried about what is hot today, because you're in it for the long haul. You're not in it for quick, hey, I just want to make this and sell my company. Most people in the food industry is a passion, not necessarily starting out as a business. So I don't have any recommendations that, hey, do this, other than, do you perfect what you have.
Great advice. So are there any specific products from Hawaii that you would like to see more value-added products made from that product?
Well, we've had the opportunity to tour a few plants here, and every one of them is cool in its own way. The chocolate is a great product. Coffee obviously is a great product, a little bit harder to get into from the regional, but the fruits that you have, the produce that you have, there's a lot of uniqueness to the island that people in the mainland do not see, and there's could be a lot of demand for that. But
sorry to interrupt. What do you usually pick up when you're in Hawaii to take home to your family and friends?
Other than t-shirts, chocolates are a very common, very popular item. Chips are pretty bulky to take back home. The salsas. The pineapple in the airport, the salsas, the flavors, the sauces. I got several different flavors in my suitcase right now, and a couple websites of, hey, can I get that online now? I think here in the islands, the online e-marketing is a tremendous opportunity that wasn't around at the level it is several years ago. So, and sometimes visitors have to come here and experience it and then take it home. And it's easier to market it that way, but it's, now you're dependent on how do you get your product to the visitors. So now we're saying hotels, airports, ABC stores, those things are luau's. Those are situations where, kind of embedded marketing to me is maybe hard to perfect, but invaluable if you hit it.
I would say, if you want some specific products, breadfruit is pretty interesting. We don't eat breadfruit here in Idaho, in the mainland for sure. Poi is something fairly unique to Hawaii, and I've had an opportunity to work with a couple of producers of poi, breadfruit, and then variants of that. Your dried flowers, some baking mixes. And then some local things. I say leverage your location. I've said this before in a seminar I did in Hawaii a few years ago. And in leveraging your location, when people think about Hawaii, they have some very specific things that they think about, and that's what they come there for. And so you need to leverage your location. I mean, certainly pineapple. I mean, I've had some pineapple salsa. Just some great things that you're just not going to find here in the mainland, and that's the experience that people come for. And so leveraging what you have and the resources you have and the things that you have make it definitely unique.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, thinking about things that you can only get here. So we do have a question about small business funding support, but since we're on the topic of sharing Hawaii products with the rest of the world, whether that's in Mark's suitcase or people ordering it online. So we have a question. Could someone address internet sales, specifically Amazon and eBay? What kind of products that we're likely to produce in Hawaii would work in that sales environment? So the person that asked the question produces noni juice and noni powder. And they've been told that the powder is better suited for Amazon and that they should try fulfillment by Amazon. So any thoughts on that?
I'll give you my thought. You don't want to ship water. So shipping water is expensive. So if you're a liquid and you just need to be prepared that shipping glass is very expensive. So if you want to stay competitive, unless you have such a niche or a target product, shipping water and shipping glass to Hawaii to fill it and then ship it back to the mainland through distribution is very expensive. And trying to be competitive in a regional market in the mainland is going to be difficult doing that. Powders, on the other hand, are light and most often are rehydrated with water where they're used, and they're also more shelf stable for them in most cases. So refrigeration in liquids and all the food safety things associated with that would be something of a consideration for sure.
Yes, definitely important to consider what it's going to take.
I'll give you an example. If you go backpacking, you don't take a bowl of spaghetti with you. You take freeze-dried spaghetti and you add water when you're in the middle of nowhere.
Yep. Good way to relate it back. It's really heavy to carry a thermos full of spaghetti. So given all of these considerations, whether it is creating your food safety plan, enforcing it, keeping record of it, or thinking about equipment. So the question is if there are any funding resources or grants for new or small businesses that can help with operations and process support. So this might be a question for Wayne.
Yeah, so right now we do have a state-funded grant program that will help with manufacturing equipment, training on the equipment, and energy efficiency within your manufacturing process, and studies for expansion or a new facility. It's a lot to get into right now. If you guys have specific questions, if you want more info, contact Innovate Hawaiʻi at htdc.org, and we can send you more information on that.
I'll point out one more thing just real quickly regarding internet sales. If you're going to go into something beyond your farmer's market, and I've had the opportunity to attend the Hawaii Food Show a few times in Honolulu, and many times I go there and lots of the booths have run out of product. First day, they don't have any product left, and they're coming product from Maui or from the Big Island or wherever, and they've sold out on the first day. This isn't something that you, in the retail realm, you have to be able to produce, and you have to be able to produce in volume. And I would say that, again, kind of knowing your audience and the volumes, and that makes decisions on what you do and how you do it, and the cost associated with those things, I think, is important. But if you were talking about buying equipment in my realm, I'm going to ask you probably 100 questions before I can even make any recommendations, because I need to understand what you think you want to do or where you want to go and what volumes and what market you want to sell to, what price point, who your target audience is, what your package looks like. I'm going to want to know all of those things so I can give you good sound advice. And I think those are very important for an entrepreneur or somebody starting out, because those things directly impact where you can and cannot sell, and where you will and won't sell. And I think that's fairly important as well. And I would say, in an automation standpoint, the reason for automation, instead of just a simple small batch, let's just say, for example, is you're getting the same thing all the time. And an example would be McDonald's. If you went to McDonald's and you had French fries, a McDonald's French fry in India tastes the same as a McDonald's French fry in Idaho. And it's because they've created processes all over the world that are the same, and they provide efficiency and consistency. And when I'm as a consumer, if I go to the store and I buy something and I like it, the reason I'm going to buy it again is because I expect it to taste the same as it did the first time I bought it. And if it doesn't, then that's when you start to lose that potential market share. And I think these things are important in a bigger business and trying to expand, for sure.
So going back to the question about Amazon, now that Bill explained this, is when you work with them, the good thing about Amazon, they have impact in every place, every small, big areas in the globally. And the only thing is going to be that the amount of product you need to provide to them to be able to stay in Amazon. And it's going to be the same thing in some of the retailers is your equipment, is you are able to produce the quantities necessary to maintain your product on the shelf.
Excellent points. Yeah, we are at the end of our time here, and there are a few questions that we didn't get a chance to address. So is there any way that attendees can reach out to you folks if they have questions?
Yeah, I mean, Naomi, I think I'll send you the presentation on the last slide that we didn't get to. We have contact info for Bill, Luisa, Mark, and myself, and that'll be the best way. Just email us directly, and we'll get back to you.
Okay, awesome. Thank you. And we do host these sessions every month, so some of the questions we might save for upcoming months. But I wanted to thank our wonderful panelists for sharing their expertise. Learned a lot in just a short 1 hour. And also wanted to thank all of you attendees for joining us and asking these great questions. It really is something that we exist to do, is to help you folks navigate all of this, because it is a lot. I mean, today we only talked about food safety and manufacturing. And so hope that you join us in future sessions. Sign up for a tour. We'd love to meet you and show you around the facility if you haven't seen it already. And yeah, mahalo everyone. Thank you so much for joining, and see you at the next one.
Thank you.